Hi everybody, welcome to Old Timer Noob Plays. In my first series of videos, I did a few playthroughs of GMT's Silver Bayonet, first team in Vietnam. I have a few more videos that I plan to do in that series still, but today I'll be bumbling my way through the base game of GMT's Panzer using the third printing rules. My goal is to record a few scenarios using the advanced rules with a few optional rules sprinkled in for fun. And I'll highlight as we go along some of the rules from the advanced set that I'll be using. I want to say right up front, other than what I've read in historical accounts, I know next to nothing about tank warfare, desert warfare, or any of the tactics associated with that type of warfighting. I don't claim to be a tactician or a strategist of any merit, and I play strictly for fun. That being said, if you have constructive criticism to offer that would help me become a better gamer, or that you think would add flavor to the game in a historical context, or just make it more enjoyable to watch, please feel free to comment below and enlighten me. I'm not an expert at this game by any means, but if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer based on what I can dig out of the rules and from some of the game forums. The scenario I'm going to try today is number 4, The Village Part 2. I'll go over the details of the scenario shortly. This scenario incorporates the same basic rules, armor units that were used in Scenario 2, the original village scenario, but it adds infantry units and some special weapons like bazookas and mortars. I've tried using infantry before a few times, and I don't think I figured out yet how to properly employ them, and I'm sure this playthrough is going to involve some more trial and error, so please bear with me. Like I said, I'll be bumbling my way through. Here are the German and Soviet orders of battle. Since I won't be using the optional morale rules, I won't assign individual IDs to each unit, but there are a few that need to be identified for the purposes of the scenario, such as the command tanks and the squads carrying additional weapons. The scenario setup distinguishes between medium trucks and light trucks, and that's important because that determines what they're able to carry in the course of the scenario. So here's the data card for a Soviet truck, and you see that they have it broken up into light, medium, and heavy trucks, and these designations aren't printed on the counters themselves. It's just a generic truck. So the scenario setup will tell you what kind of trucks that you have. In this scenario, we have 3 medium trucks and 1 light truck, and here's why that matters. Looking at each line of the weight classifications, you see that there's a TR value that represents the transport carrying capacity of the truck, and it's a number separated from another number with a dash. This first number represents the towed capacity, and this represents the leg capacity. So you see a light truck has a towed and leg capacity, carrying capacity of 1 and 1. A medium truck has a transport capacity of 2 and 2, and a heavy truck has a towing capacity of 3 and 3. You see the squad and the section each have a passenger capacity, and it's highlighted by the reverse printing here. So on the first line here, you have actually information for an entire squad on the left hand side of the slash, and on the right hand side of the slash for a half squad. So a full squad being transported can have a towed capacity of 0 but has a passenger capacity of 2, and a half squad has a passenger capacity of 1. What does that mean? Well, if I have a full squad with a passenger capacity of 2, that means that I have to use a truck that has at least a transport capacity of 2. So I have to have a medium truck. In other words, I couldn't load my full squad into a light truck because my light truck only has a carrying capacity of 1. So the light capacity is the second number here. So in keeping with that information, you see that I've labeled my 3 trucks here, these first 3 trucks, as medium-sized trucks, and the one on the end is a light truck, and it will be carrying my mortar section. So if I look back over here at my infantry cards, a section has a passenger capacity of 1, so they can fit in the light truck. They can also fit in the medium truck, but the full squad can't go in the light truck. So as you've just seen, the Basil module does include all the unit cards, which are accessible by clicking on this button here. But for my playthrough, what I've done is I've gone to the Panzer Pusher website and I've downloaded the card images to use because I like to be able to see both cards on the screen at the same time. Since these are all saved in picture format, I can just scroll through um, to whichever card I need, and I can do that from both sides. The advantage of doing it this way, though, oops, is that I can overlap them like this. So if I had a Russian vehicle attacking the German vehicle, the Soviet vehicle, I have all the offensive information right here and the defensive information for the tank that's being attacked down here, and I can see them both at the same time. I don't know a way of showing both cards on Vassal at the same time, so if you know how to do that, please leave me a comment and let me know. That would be helpful. All right, in the interest of saving time, I'm going to go ahead and set up the units on the board, and once I've done that, we'll come back and get going from there. So here we are all set up. I used the die roll to determine who was going to set up where, and you see our Germans are set up mid-board here in this column, and the Soviet units are set up along the bottom edge. Before I get too much further, I want to go over some of the rules that I'm going to use. I mentioned that I'll be using the advanced rules, but of course you probably know by now that you can mix and match and use whatever rules you want or leave out the ones that you don't want to use. I'm going to be using ammo limits, the AP number of hits, which are part of the advanced rules, but some people don't use them. I'm going to use them. Variable penetration, fire priority, bogging, CE type armor, the brew up modifier, start fires, and command span. This isn't really designed to be a tutorial video, so I'm not going to go over all of these elements in detail, but when they come up in gameplay, I'll try to explain what I'm doing and why. So here are the scenario details. I'm not going to read this to you. I guess if you want to get all the details, you can just pause the video and read this. But I will mention that under the special conditions, we are using ammo limits. We're not using the morale rules. We're not using hidden rules. And we are using the command span rules. And there's a typo here on the command span rules. It's not section 7.43, it's 7.52. So we will be using those. Now the objective of the scenario here is to be the last unit or units to occupy the town, which is located in the northwest corner of the map here. I'm not sure how to pronounce this. Straverhivoy? No idea, but this town up here. Whichever side controls the town at the end of the scenario gains 350 victory points. And then, of course, there will be the usual victory points awarded for knocking out or brewing up enemy units. The winning side has to have a victory margin of at least 115 points. The first order of business is going to be spotting. So in this game, the base range of spotting for vehicles is 20 hexes, assuming there are no intervening line of sight obstacles and that none of these other modifiers apply. Right, we're just starting the game. Nobody has moved, nobody has fired, nothing has taken place, and everybody currently is set up in an open hex. So all the vehicles can see each other at a range of 20 hexes, assuming there are no obstacles in the way, which we'll have to check. It is important to keep in mind that spotting in this game is not mutual. In other words, if Unit A can see Unit B, that doesn't necessarily mean that Unit B can see Unit A. And you'll see that play out a number of times as we go through the scenario. I've got the map zoomed out right now for spotting purposes, just so we can see everybody. But I'll zoom it in closer as we start playing. And I'm going to start the spotting phase with the Soviet units down here at the bottom. So starting with this X, line of sight is blocked by this level 1 hill. This is also blocked. This is blocked. This is blocked. This is blocked. And this is blocked. Alright, next hex. This is blocked. Blocked. And this one will not be blocked. Determining line of sight when obstacles are involved or when there are height differences involved depends on the actual height difference between the firing and the unit being spotted or fired at. In this case, I have a unit on a level 2 hill. Another unit is at level 0 ground hex, and I have a level 1 obstacle in between them. As explained in the rules, when I have an obstacle that's one height lower than the higher unit, the way you determine line of sight is you count the number of hexes between the higher unit and the intervening obstacle. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would take half of that, rounded down, which is 2, and that indicates there would be 2 blind hexes on the other side of the level 1 obstacle. From here on out, it's an unobstructed view, so this unit on the level 2 hill can see this unit, and they're both in the open, so this unit can see that unit as well. It doesn't appear that the line of sight crosses the level 1 hill here, and the overshadowing or the overshading here into the adjacent hex does not block line of sight. So right now we can say that units in both hexes, assuming they're vehicles, can be spotted. That's blocked by a level 1 hill, blocked, 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 and this will be the same case as before, where we count the number of hexes between the level 2 unit and the level 1 obstacle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, half rounded down is 2, we'll have 2 blind hexes, and then clear line of sight. So both of these hexes can see each other, or the vehicles can see each other. This is blocked, blocked, and blocked. Blocked. And it appears this is not blocked. So these units can see this vehicle in this hex. And of course this vehicle can see these as well. They're both in the open. Line of sight is clear here as well. Blocked, blocked, blocked. Blocked, blocked. This one is blocked because the level 1 hill is further away from the level 2 unit. So if we count the number of hexes from here to here, that's 9. So half of that rounded down would be 4. There would be 4 blind hexes on this side of the level 1 hill. And this unit is within those 4 hexes, so he can't be seen. And in turn, he can't see this unit on the hill. Blocked, 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 blocked. The next step will be the command phase, where we determine how many commands each side will get, and then we'll place the commands. I'm playing solo, so I really know what both sides are going to do, but just for the heck of it, I'm going to roll a die for each side, and whichever side rolls lower, that side will have to place their commands first. I'm guessing that'll introduce a little bit of bias in the gameplay, but that really can't be helped. So I know from the order of battle and the scenario setup that the Soviet units have 17 combat units on the board. And a combat unit is one that has some kind of offensive strength. And then the Germans have 18 combat units on the board. So with 17 combat units for the Soviets, and everybody is seasoned here by the way, 17 combat units, we start by looking at the 10 column, that's 6 commands, and in the 7 column we have another 4 commands, so the Soviets will get 10 commands they can place. The Germans have 18 units, so 6 plus 5 is 11. So 10 for the Soviets, 11 for the Germans. So I'll roll for each side, and the lower roll places their command first. We'll make blue the Germans and red the Soviets. So it looks like the Germans will set up first. They rolled a 0, followed by the Soviets. I'll try to make this as painless as possible. I know my Stug here on the level 2 hill has good line of sight to some Soviet tanks, so I'll give him a fire command and maybe we'll get lucky and pick someone off at the very beginning. I'll let the Panzer Vs next to him go into Overwatch. I'd like for my infantry units to start moving in the general direction of the town, and my Panzer Vs here to start making their way towards this high ground. Maybe we can beat the Soviets there. So they'll both have a movement command. And these two stacks of units will begin moving as well. Now for the Soviets. Not knowing who's going to get the initiative, I'll go ahead and give this stack of units here a fire command. Maybe they can fire back at the Stug or fire first. I'll have these two stacks move off in this general area, maybe one on top of a hill and one in some covering terrain, and try to get a good line of sight into the open field over here. And everybody else will start moving to the west, northwest. That's it for commands. Next will be the initiative phase. Normally, both sides roll for initiative, and the side with the higher initiative determines who the first player will be. Since I'm playing by myself, just to make it less complicated, I'll make it that whoever rolls the highest initiative is the first player. So we'll roll for the Germans first. They rolled an 81. The Soviets rolled a 36, so the Germans will be the first player.